Oh, this is my second one today. I got thinking again. When I was a corporal in the Marine Corps, I was stationed in Beaufort, South Carolina, VMFA 333, trip tray. Checked into the squadron. There was a gunny, and he automatically assigned me to day shift. And I went, "Excuse me? I don't work days." And he looked at me and he goes, "You don't work days? You're married." Whoa, yeah, put me on nights. I don't work with assholes. Assholes are on day shift. I don't do day shift. So the gunny put me on nights. Now Trip Tray was a carrier squadron, and they were having trouble with the parachute. So they ended up having to pull the chute and send it over to Hams, and Hams packed it in a bag and then put the chute. That's bullshit. I taught the night shift how to pack the parachute in the bag. Maintenance control kind of fired up the bullshit alert. I ended up, about my third day there, I ended up going in and seeing the maintenance officer with the gunny. And the assistant maintenance officer was a captain I knew in 115. And he backed me up 200%. He told the major that you don't question Gene. Gene knows what he's doing. And he'll teach Flightline how to pack that chute. Never had a trouble with chute after that. And did not have to do the crap of turning it in and getting a JCN for a parachute. Because once that parachute is packed in the bag, that bag is pure hell to get into that chute door. But anyways, that's ancient history. But we had an inspection. Now, I'm a corporal. I got my Vietnam service and my National Defense ribbon. And we had a uniform inspection. So I'm standing out there. This LT gets in front of me, questions my Vietnam service, wrote me up for wearing that ribbon, and said that I'm going to go in for office hours. I'll tell you what, I looked at that lieutenant, didn't say nothing, kept my mouth shut. I was still at the position of attention where he's spouting off all this crap about me being out of uniform because of that Vietnam service, and I'm getting pissed off like you wouldn't believe. Well, after the inspection, I went straight upstairs. Now I had to wait for the Sergeant Major about 15 minutes or so. The gunny from Flightline came upstairs. And he seen that I was waiting for the Sergeant Major, and him and I talked. Gunny told S1 to pull my service record book. Sure enough, I rated that Vietnam service. And the gunny popped up and goes, "Gene, I'll take care of this." And I said, No, I'm sorry, Gunny. That LT's going to apologize to me. I demand it. And if I give it to you, I'll never get an apology from that bastard. And the gunny popped up and goes, "Hey, you gotta be careful what you say about these officers." I don't care, gunny. I don't care. Well, the gunny stayed with me. Sergeant Major arrived. We went in, had a talk with the Sergeant Major. And I told the Sergeant Major the same thing I told the gunny. that asshole was going to apologize to me in front of Flightline, because he discredited me in front of my peers. Sergeant Major agreed with me. As we were leaving, Gunny and I was walking downstairs, and the Gunny popped up and goes, "Oh, it looks like you're going to get what you want." And I said, "Yeah, sure looks that way, don't it? But if I would have given it to you, I would not have gotten the apology that I'm looking forward on getting." And the Gunny just looked at me and he goes, "You're right. Because your voice would not have been heard." That's right. My voice would not have been heard. Well, the next day, there was a note that the whole flight line had to stay. Day shift had to stay. Night shift had to stay until we have a formation. And there was no explanation for the formation. I knew what it was about, but I kept my mouth shut. So we're standing outside. Gunny called us to attention that Lieutenant, Sergeant Major, and the CO, along with the maintenance officer, came up, called me out front of the formation. I went out front, reported to the CO. CO made about a 5-minute talk concerning my Vietnam service and where they're represented. And then the lieutenant gave an apology that was pure gold. And he popped up when he got done apologizing and asked me to accept his apology. I stuck out my hand and told him that I accept the apology and I can understand why you did it. Because all that was explained by the commanding officer in his little spill concerning the way the Marine Corps operates and sending people here and there, in the country, out of country, rotating, and that you don't stay, and that people are constantly moving in, moving out, but you have to keep track, and it's up to the individual Marine to keep track of his medals and honors that he's got. So that was the result of the first inspection that I actually got gigged on in the inspection. It took longer for that apology than what it did for the inspection. And I tell you what, that just, talk about putting the world in the palm of your hand, that did it. Well, years later, I was a staff sergeant. Now, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. The uniform is very precise in the wearing of that uniform. The boot camp issued shirt that I was issued with the number 47 laundry mark in the lower left-hand lapel, done with a magic marker in boot camp. You do not need the cliques. Now the cliques are the folds that go down the sides. That is the option of the wearer. You can either have it or not have it. Me, I don't wear, when I wear that cotton shirt, it has no pleats. Now we had a inspection, uniform inspection for an IG in VMFA 115. Major Coyle, maintenance officer, was doing the inspection. Now, Major Coyle and I never saw eye to eye. Well, we did, but then we didn't. You know, we had our times, like the time he called me in from a 96 that I got to inspect an engine, and I refused the engine, and I ended up going in front of the Major Coyle in civilian clothes, because that's how I went to Hams to inspect the engine, was in civilian clothes, blue jeans and a t-shirt. And I had to remind Major Coyle that I was on the 96 and I got called in, and I'm not going to sign on an engine that could explode inside of an airplane, because the crack that I located was on the combustion chamber. And Hams admitted that they made a mistake. When that came in, they did not see the crack. In other words, they just probably didn't even look at it. They just assumed without doing their job. But that's Hams. Yeah. Anyway, Major Coyle gets in front of me and told me that I looked okay, but there was something missing, and he couldn't put a finger on it. So I'm going to pass you on this inspection. And he goes to the next guy. Well, the next guy was wearing one that had cleats in it. That's when he started doing the double take, going from him to me. Then he gets back in front of me. And he goes, "Staff Sergeant Taylor, you're out of uniform. What do you have to say for yourself?" And I looked at him and I said, "Excuse me, what do you mean I'm out of uniform? You don't have the folds in your shirt. Those folds are called cliques, Major. And according to Marine Corps order, it's the option of the wearer. This wearer don't like them. And when I wear my cotton shirt, I will not have them on my cotton shirt." Well, the Marine Corps requires you to have them. Therefore, you failed this inspection. Major, I'll be seeing the CO right after this formation. Major didn't say nothing. He just went on with the rest of the inspection. Well, we get done with that inspection. I go upstairs. Lieutenant Colonel Logan was the CO. Sergeant Major McKinney, I think his name is, Kenny. Sergeant Major Kenny. I went into Kenny's office, and Kenny looked at me and he goes, "Gene, I know why you're here." I said, "Yeah." This is bullshit. And I'm asking for an apology, just like I did when I was a corporal. How dare that man humiliate me? And Sergeant Major Kenny popped up and went, "Well, that's not my decision. That's going to be the skipper's." Okay. Well, you want to go and see the skipper? I sure do. So he looked up the order dealing with that shirt, because he knows that Lieutenant Colonel Logan is going to Colonel Logan looked at the whole picture. And he had to be shown the whole picture. That was part of Lieutenant Colonel Logan's policy. If you're going to do something, I want to know everything about it before you ask me my opinion. So anyways, we go in front of the skipper. And Sergeant Major Kinney told Colonel Logan what happened in the inspection, because the Sergeant Major was taking notes for the Major, because he was the rankingest officer. There was a captain and the Master Sergeant from Avionics doing the troops. But Major Coyle and the Sergeant Major was doing the staff and officers. Well, Sergeant Major Kinney did tell Colonel Logan, after Colonel Logan agreed that I should have gotten a noteworthy on that inspection. Sergeant Major Kinney popped up and says, well, it's Staff Sergeant Taylor's wish that a formal apology be brought out. And Colonel Logan looked at the Sergeant Major and goes, who? Who? Colonel Logan looked at me, I looked at him, we both started laughing. Sergeant Major goes, Gene, damn it. Gene wants a formal apology. Colonel Logan goes, that's better. That's better. So Colonel Logan gets on the phone, calls the maintenance officer. He just so happened to be at his desk. Major Coyle came upstairs to the CO's office. Now at that time, Kenny and I are in his office. Colonel Logan chewed Major Coyle out. Failure to do your job as an officer, knowing the rules and regulations of the troops you were inspecting, and just read him the riot act and told him that there's going to be a formation and that you will apologize to Gene. Now Major Coyle just well, Colonel Logan dismissed him. Then Kenny and I walked into the CO's office. CO popped up and said, if I don't hear anything in 24 hours, to let the Sergeant Major know. Okay, no problem. Very next morning, there was a formation. The formation was held right outside of maintenance control. Now I will admit this, Major Coyle did try. He did not get 100% participation, but he got about 80%. There was approximately 30 enlisted, and there must have been at least 24 officers that were standing in formation. Now I'm talking utilities, I'm talking civilian clothes. A couple guys was in PT gear. But the very next morning at 7:30, I walked into work. Because I always walked in at 7:30. Shift didn't start till 8 o'clock, but I had to have my coffee and cigarette before I started work. As I was walking into work at 7:30, the formation was outside of maintenance control inside the hangar because it was raining out. And I walked into the hangar and I'm walking to maintenance control and I see this crowd of people down there, all dressed different ways. All of a sudden there was the word attention. I kept walking. I wasn't part of that crap. So I walked up, and Major Coyle is in front of these guys, and he turned and saluted me. So I stopped and returned the salute, and then he apologized. And it was a humble apology for defacing him. And I did humiliate you without knowing what my job was. He repeated what Lieutenant Colonel Logan stated to him about him not being prepared to give the inspection. And he asked very humbly for me to accept his apology. Well, I saluted him, accepted the apology, shook his hand, and went in, had a cup of coffee and a cigarette. During that day, there must have been 8 or 9 of the officers, and a few of the enlisted guys took me aside and said that they have never, ever witnessed Major Coyle making an apology like that. A couple of days later, Colonel Logan was a motorcycle guy that loved racing motorcycles. And he had a tournament, but he had to get a few people to go down there with him. So, you know, I told him, yeah, my son and I will go down. So Corey and I went down. It was down just outside Savannah, Georgia. Well, Corey and I get down there. Colonel Logan is there with his motorcycle. And we had about a half hour before the race started. Colonel Logan and I was talking, and I told Colonel Logan about the apology and how he basically repeated everything that you told him in the office. Yeah, Colonel Logan just laughed, and I said, why, what's so funny? Well, that evening at the officers club, my wife and I was having dinner, and Major Coyle came up and joined us for dinner, and my wife also took a piece of his ass. Now, I don't know how my wife found out what happened at that inspection. Did you tell her? I said, no, I didn't say nothing. You were the only one that I mentioned anything to. She found out about it, and she chewed his ass. And she said that that will be a perfectly outstanding apology that you do. And I just, wow. To this day, I still don't know how she found out about it. But anyways, I just thought I'd throw this out. I just got thinking about it because I made the statement that I passed all my inspections, flying no, those two. But the thing is, the end result of those two, you know, one formal apology and the other one was informal. So I'm going to kick this thing out too. I'm looking at about 24 and a half minutes on this one. Man, this one was a long one. Anyways, I can cut it off 24:30. Bless you and have a beautiful day.